When it comes to politicians, even when they're being straight with you, honesty is not always the best policy when you're talking to them. Many years ago when I worked for the Evening Standard, I was the only British journalist who was sent to cover a very, very dull, I think it was a European Socialist Party summit in Milan, and Tony Blair was speaking. And it was totally godforsaken, and I was the only journalist who was sent from Britain. I was on what's called falling down duty. And basically, you're not expected to write anything. You're just there in case the Prime Minister falls down, or gets a pie in his face, or, if you're really lucky, gets assassinated. That's how we think. And I called Alistair Campbell just before the speech and said, can we have a quick chat, just in case there's anything I can write about. He turns up in the hotel bar, and he brought the Prime Minister with him. Now, I'm sort of a junior hack on the Evening Standard, was slightly taken aback at the Prime Minister turning up, was all sort of, oh, hello. And he was very nice, and he said, how come you're the only British journalist here? And I said, in case anything happens, Prime Minister. And Tony said, it won't be a very newsworthy speech. And I said, no, Prime Minister, I mean in case you get shot. And ever the gentleman, though, he replied, thanks. It was very sweet. But as I said, honesty is not always the best policy, although there is a wonderful story. Calvin Mackenzie, I'm sure you all heard of, the legendary editor of The Sun. He was not a big fan of his astrologer, and he decided to sack her. And I think he decided to sack her because he thought of this line, actually. But he dictated a letter to his secretary to sack the astrologer, beginning with the words, "As you would, of course, already know." Which I think is borderline genius. Now, one politician, of course, who has never had any trouble telling the truth is, and the whole truth and nothing but the truth, in fact, is John Prescott. Now he's announced that he's going to stand down from Parliament to spend more time with his croquet balls. It's a miracle, really, that he lasted as long as he did. There's a wonderful story, really. When he was exposed for adultery, and obviously he heard a couple of days in advance that he was going to be in the tabloid newspapers for having an affair with a colleague. He thought very wisely, I think, best if Pauline doesn't read this in the newsagent. So he told his wife beforehand, I've had an affair with a colleague, it's going to be in the papers tomorrow, and set the scene. Unfortunately for him, he wasn't quite as clever as he thought, because the affair he confessed to was an entirely different affair from the one that was in the papers, which was with his diary secretary, Tracy Temple. Whoops. So I think we can safely say he was in the back bedroom that night, and for probably some time to come.